Lord, my God and my Father, with a heart overflowing with hope that only you can infuse, I raise this prayer to you. In the midst of life's storms, when the shadows of injustice seem to deepen and the weight of suffering threatens to crush the soul, I find in you my refuge and my strength. With humility and deep reverence, I approach your throne of grace, seeking the light of your gaze that dissipates the darkness and the truth of your word that sustains me. I know that in you dwells perfect justice, a love that transcends human understanding, and a power that governs all things. I look to you, my Savior, who suffered the greatest injustice and yet forgave, and I find the inspiration to place my afflictions into your hands. I feel within me a cry, a yearning to see your justice manifested, not as revenge, but as the restoration of what is broken, the truth that frees, and the peace that only you can give. The anguish surrounding me, the calumnies that hit me, the difficulties that seem insurmountable, I now give to you, knowing that you see beyond what my eyes can perceive. I believe in your sovereignty, in your ability to intervene in the most adverse circumstances, and to bring to light the truth that is hidden. This moment is an act of faith for me, a commitment to trust in your time and your way of acting, even when the path seems cloudy and uncertain. I seek in you the wisdom to discern right from wrong, the courage to remain firm in the face of adversity, and the assurance that in your presence I find true security. In the name of Jesus, to whom I entrust my cause, I make this prayer. Just as David cried out to you in his moments of persecution, I too turn to you, my God, seeking your divine intervention. You are my Lord and my rock, in whom I trust to protect and defend me. When enemies rise against me, when unjust accusations surround me, and the feeling of helplessness overwhelms me, I remember your promises, your words of encouragement that echo through the ages. Psalm 7 becomes an echo in my soul, a hymn of hope that reminds me that you are the righteous judge, the one who examines hearts and knows the truth of all things. In your presence, there is no place for falsehood or malice that hides in the shadows. You are the light that reveals the truth and the shield that protects me from the adversary's attacks. My soul longs for this justice, not as a selfish desire for retribution, but as the restoration of divine order, the restoration of truth that was distorted, and the protection of those who trust in you. I feel the need to lean on your strength, on your unquestionable authority. You are my safe refuge, my faithful advocate, the one who intercedes for me and defends me from all accusations. I know that in you, victory is certain, for your power is limitless and your love is unwavering. I believe that, just as you delivered David from his persecutors, you will also deliver me from my own battles. My faith rests in the certainty that you are my protector, my guide, and my sustainer at all times. Your justice is my deepest longing, the hope that drives me forward, even when circumstances seem unfavorable. And with this renewed faith, I declare to you, my God, my internal and external struggles. I feel, deep inside, the weight of discouragement, the doubt that tries to settle in my heart, and the fear that, at times, paralyzes me. There are moments when the injustice I witness or experience causes me deep pain, a sense of helplessness that makes me question why so many adversities, the harsh words, the hasty judgments, the malicious actions of others. All of this can create a whirlwind of emotions that threaten to destabilize my faith. But today, Lord, I choose not to let myself be consumed by these negative emotions. I choose to lift my voice in prayer, in a declaration of faith, in spiritual combat. Just as David faced his enemies with courage and trust in you, I too rise against the forces that try to oppress me. I declare that fear has no dominion over me, for your perfect love drives it out. I declare that doubt will not stop me, for your truth is my foundation. I declare that injustice will not define me, for your justice will prevail. Let the discouraging words that surround me turn to dust in the face of your word of life. Let the calumnies that try to hit me ricochet and turn against those who speak them, for you are my defender. I feel in my spirit the strength to resist, to persevere, to fight with the spiritual weapons you've given me. Your word is my sword, prayer is my shield, faith is my armor. May your justice manifest in every area of my life, dispelling the darkness and bringing the truth to light. May my mouth proclaim your greatness and power, even in the midst of difficulties. I refuse to be silenced by fear or injustice. I choose, in you, to be a warrior of light, a proclaimer of your truth, an instrument of your justice. And in this spiritual battle, your promise of protection is my greatest comfort. I know that you are with me at all times, a vigilant guardian who never sleeps or slumbers. I imagine you as a wall of fire around me, an impenetrable shield protecting me from the enemy's attacks, whether visible or invisible. Your presence is a mantle of security surrounding me, dispelling fear and filling me with courage. Just as a shepherd protects his sheep from the dangers of the field, you guard me from the snares of the adversary, the traps that are secretly prepared, the poisonous words that are spoken with the intention of destroying. Your justice is not just an abstract concept, but an active force that works in my favor, undoing the works of evil and restoring divine order. In you I find the certainty that no harm will befall me, no plague will come near my tent, for you send your angels to guard me in all my ways. Your protection is complete, encompassing not just my physical body, but also my mind, my spirit, and all areas of my life. I feel your strong hand guiding me, your wisdom directing me, your love strengthening me. In your presence I feel secure and loved, free from any fear. Your justice is my assurance. Your power is my defense. May I always remember this truth in every moment, trusting that you are my faithful protector, my safe refuge, my unshakable fortress. Your protection is a precious gift that I receive with gratitude and faith, knowing that in you I am more than a conqueror. With this certainty in my heart, I am driven to act in faith and declare your promises over every aspect of my life. In your divine wisdom I trust to guide me with every step I take, with every decision I make. May your light dispel the uncertainties of the path and clearly show me what I must do. May your strength enable me to face daily challenges with courage and perseverance. I declare, Lord, that your purpose will be fulfilled in me, that your will prevail in every circumstance. May my life be a living testimony of your love, your justice, and your power. May I be an instrument in your hands, bringing hope and healing where there is pain and suffering. May my faith remain unshaken, even in the face of adversity, for I know that you are with me. May your justice be manifested in every area of my life, from my finances to my relationships, from my health to my ministry. May I live in constant dependence on you, seeking your guidance in everything and trusting that you have the best for me. May my mouth proclaim your goodness, your mercy, and your faithfulness, so that others may also be inspired to trust in you. May I reflect your love, radiating your light to the world. May I not conform to circumstances, but fight with faith, declaring your promises and living in obedience to your word. May my life be a song of praise to you, my God, every day. And so, my God, with a heart full of gratitude and hope, I conclude this prayer, confident in your faithfulness and in your unconditional love. May your blessing rest upon me and upon all those who seek your face. May your peace, which surpasses all understanding, guard my thoughts and my heart. May your presence accompany me at all times, strengthening my faith and renewing my strength. May I always remember that you are my refuge, my rock, my salvation. I reaffirm my trust in you, knowing that in you I find true security and the hope that will never disappoint. May your justice be manifested in my life and in the world, bringing restoration and peace. May I be a faithful servant, living for your glory and for the advancement of your kingdom. May my life be a testimony of your transformative power, your infinite mercy, and your eternal love. In the name of Jesus, my Lord and Savior, I pray. Amen. Deepening our understanding of divine justice. It is crucial to examine how it manifests not only in the vindication of the righteous, but also in the instruction and refinement of character, an often underappreciated aspect. The Lord, in His infinite wisdom, uses adversities and experiences of injustice to shape us, refining our faith and strengthening our spiritual resilience. Instead of merely removing obstacles, He often empowers us to cross them, teaching us valuable lessons in the process. Consider, for example, how a jeweler purifies gold by exposing it to fire so that impurities are consumed, leaving only the precious metal in its purest form. Similarly, the trials we face, especially those caused by injustices, serve to burn away the dross of our selfishness, impatience, and distrust, revealing the inner strength that can only be forged in the furnace of experience. Therefore, instead of simply crying out for the burden to be removed, we should also seek discernment to understand the purpose behind the difficulty, looking to learn the lessons God wants to teach us through these situations. Furthermore, divine justice operates on a plane that transcends our limited temporal understanding. What seems like a delay or a failure in divine intervention is, in fact, part of a larger, perfectly orchestrated plan. It is easy to become frustrated when the answer to our prayer for justice is not immediate. But we must remember that the Lord operates on its own timeline, one that spans eternity and considers the greater good of all souls involved, just as a sculptor patiently works the stone, carefully removing excesses to reveal the final form. God works in our lives and the situations that afflict us, shaping the outcome according to His perfect purposes. This perspective invites us to cultivate patience and perseverance, trusting that even if we do not see the result immediately, divine justice is in motion, preparing the stage for an opportune and effective intervention. Our faith is, therefore, a continuous exercise of trust in the process, even when the details remain hidden. In this context, it is vital to understand that the pursuit of divine justice does not exempt us from the responsibility to act with integrity and love in our own interactions. On the contrary, it urges us to be agents of transformation, reflecting God's just and merciful character in all we do. When we find ourselves in positions of authority or influence, we are called to administer justice equitably, to defend the oppressed, and to speak the truth boldly, even in the face of opposing pressures. This means that divine justice is not only a cry for external intervention, but also a call to personal holiness and the active practice of righteousness. Think of how a river, flowing from its mountain spring, irrigates the land around it, bringing life and fertility. Likewise, when our souls are aligned with God's justice, our lives become a source of blessings and positive influence for those around us. spreading love and truth in a world that so desperately needs them. Another key aspect of divine justice lies in its ability to bring about complete restoration, not only repairing the damage caused, but also restoring the dignity and purpose of the one who suffered the injustice. The Lord does not merely deliver us from evil, but He also empowers us to flourish again, to rebuild what was destroyed, and to find new vigor in our walk of faith. Consider the image of a garden that, after a period of drought and neglect, is carefully replanted and watered, blooming in beauty and abundance. God works similarly in our lives, restoring the areas that were wounded by injustice, nurturing our spirit with His grace, and empowering us to produce fruits of justice and love. This complete restoration is a testimony to God's redemptive power, which transforms pain into hope and adversity into an opportunity for even greater growth. Additionally, divine justice teaches us the importance of forgiveness, an essential component for our own liberation in breaking the cycle of bitterness and resentment. Although justice demands that the truth come to light and those responsible be confronted, the path to true peace leads through forgiveness, just as Christ forgave us. Seeking justice should not lead us to a place of bitterness, but to a place of discernment and, when appropriate, compassion. It is an act of spiritual strength to express forgiveness, as it frees us from the burden of the past and allows us to move forward, trusting that God is the final judge and that He will handle all matters according to His perfect justice. This duality, the search for truth and the practice of forgiveness, is a delicate balance that reflects God's own nature, as He is both just and merciful. The Lord, in His justice, not only defends us but also enables us to discern the truth amidst confusion, a spiritual gift that frees us from manipulation and deception. Think of the wisdom King Solomon demonstrated when discerning the true mother between two women who claimed the same child. His decision, though seemingly harsh, revealed the hidden truth and brought justice to the situation. Similarly, the Holy Spirit grants us the ability to scrutinize the intentions behind words, to see beyond appearances, and to recognize the truth, even when it is disguised. This spiritual insight is an armor against the enemy's tricks, which seek to deceive us and divert us from the right path. Therefore, when asking for divine justice, also ask for mental and spiritual clarity. This ability to discern what is from God and what is not, thus avoiding falling into spiritual traps. Moreover, the practical application of divine justice in our lives is evident in how we handle those who have wronged us. Instead of retaliating or holding grudges, we are called to respond with love and forgiveness, reflecting the very character of Christ. This is not an easy task. It requires the renouncement of our pride and a deep trust in God's redemptive power. However, it is precisely in this renouncement that we find true freedom. When we forgive, we break the chains that bind us to the past and open space for healing and restoration. Imagine a plant suffocated by weeds. By removing the weeds, the plant has the chance to grow and fully flourish. Similarly, forgiveness removes the weeds of resentment that suffocate our spirit, allowing God's grace to revitalize us. Additionally, divine justice teaches us the importance of being instruments of reconciliation in a world marked by conflicts and divisions. It is not enough to seek our own vindication. We are called to actively work for peace and the restoration of broken relationships. This may involve mediating disputes, offering words of encouragement and support, or simply showing compassion and understanding to those who are suffering. Think of a skilled artisan who joins broken pieces, using their expertise to restore a valuable object. Similarly, the Lord uses us to unite divided hearts, to repair what has been damaged, and to build bridges of understanding amidst distrust and hostility. Consequently, God's justice is not a passive event, but a call to action and personal responsibility. It invites us to examine our own lives, to identify areas where we have acted with bias or injustice, and to seek divine correction. The Lord calls us to live according to His principles, to love our neighbors as ourselves, and to treat everyone with dignity and respect. This self-awareness and willingness to change are essential for us to truly experience and manifest God's justice in our lives. It's like a musician who, before playing a symphony, tunes their instrument to ensure every note sounds perfectly. Similarly, we must tune our hearts and actions, aligning them with God's will, so we can be effective instruments in His hands. Finally, divine justice offers us the hope of final and complete restoration, where all injustice will be corrected and every tear wiped away. In Revelation, we see the vision of a new heaven and a new earth, where justice dwells. This future promise gives us strength to persevere through present struggles, knowing that our journey does not end here but culminates in a state of perfection and peace. This eschatological hope is like a guiding star that illuminates our path in the darkness, reminding us of the glorious destiny that awaits us and motivating us to live with faithfulness and integrity in the present. Furthermore, the pursuit of divine justice compels us to a deep introspective analysis, uncovering our own flaws that may obscure our discernment and distort our perception of truth. It is an invitation to shed deep-seated prejudices and hasty judgments, which often blind us to the complete reality of a situation. Think about the difficulty of seeing clearly through fogged glass. Similarly, our own imperfections, like wounded pride, hidden envy, or stubbornness, create a barrier that prevents the light of divine truth from fully penetrating. Therefore, when we cry out for justice, it is equally important to pray for humility and the ability to recognize and correct our own unjust inclinations, ensuring that our pursuit is genuine and selfless. Furthermore, divine justice, in its practical application, requires that we consider the consequences of our actions and words on others, especially in moments of conflict. It's not just about defending our own rights, but acting in a way that doesn't perpetuate a cycle of pain or worsen an already delicate situation. Imagine an artisan who, when repairing a delicate piece, uses precise tools and careful movements to avoid causing further damage. Similarly, we are called to approach disputes with wisdom and prudence, choosing our words and actions with the aim of restoring and building, rather than destroying or hurting further. This proactive and mindful approach is essential for our pursuit of justice to truly align with divine love and compassion. Consequently, God's justice challenges us to cultivate spiritual resilience, allowing us to persevere even when circumstances seem unfavorable and immediate results aren't visible. This perseverance is not passivity, but an active strength that manifests an unwavering trust that God is working, even when we cannot fully understand His process. Think of a seed buried in the darkness of the soil, patiently waiting for the right moment to sprout and break through the surface. This active waiting, full of faith in the hidden potential, mirrors our own journey when we rely on divine justice. Thus, we learn to wait with hope, to trust in God's timing, and to keep our faith firm, even in uncertainty. On the other hand, divine justice also calls us to bold action, especially when confronted with oppression and tyranny. It's not about a passive resignation, but an active commitment to defend the truth and protect the vulnerable. Consider the prophets of the Old Testament, who confronted kings and powerful leaders in the name of divine justice, even at great personal risk. This courage doesn't arise from human strength, but from the conviction that God is on our side and that His will shall prevail. Therefore, when seeking justice, we are encouraged not to fear the consequences, but to speak the truth with love and firmness, trusting that God will empower and protect us. Even more profoundly, divine justice manifests in the restoration of natural and spiritual order, often disrupted by the actions of evil and human disobedience. When we cry out for justice, we are, in fact, invoking God's power to restore the primordial balance, to heal the wounds caused by transgression, and to bring His sovereign will into existence, even amid apparent chaos. Think of how an ecosystem, when disturbed by an invasion of exotic species or natural disasters, gradually recovers under the influence of the natural laws governing it. Similarly, the Lord, in His justice, works to reintroduce harmony where there is discord, to heal the spiritual diseases that afflict humanity, and to restore the beauty and holiness that have been corrupted. This restoration is not merely an act of repair, but a revitalization that brings new life and purpose, like a river that, after a drought, begins to flow again, nourishing the land. On the flip side, it is crucial to recognize that divine justice does not operate through a human merit system, where our good deeds alone would earn us divine favor. Instead, it emanates from God's intrinsic nature, His love, His holiness, and His truth, and is accessible through faith and grace. When we interpret justice as something we must earn, we risk falling into the trap of legalism, focusing on our own efforts rather than trusting in the completed work of Christ. Imagine an athlete who, after months of rigorous training, participates in a competition. Their success is not solely due to their efforts, but also to the fair application of the competition rules and the recognition of their merit by the judges. Likewise, while our efforts are important, true divine justice is a gift we receive when we surrender to His sovereignty and trust in His goodness. Furthermore, divine justice invites us to an active responsibility in promoting equity in our own spheres of influence. This means that, in seeking God's justice, we are inspired to act with integrity in our professions, homes, and communities, defending the rights of the oppressed and speaking out against corruption and partiality. Think of a judge who, in their court, must issue impartial decisions based on law and evidence, without being influenced by external pressures or favoritism. Similarly, we are called to be judges in our own lives, applying divine principles of justice and fairness in all our interactions, ensuring that our actions reflect the character of God. Moreover, divine justice, in its practical application, requires that we consider the consequences of our actions and words on others, especially in times of conflict. It's not just about defending our own rights, but acting in a way that doesn't perpetuate a cycle of pain or worsen an already delicate situation. Imagine a craftsman who, when repairing a delicate piece, uses precise tools and careful movements to avoid causing further damage. Similarly, we are called to approach disputes with wisdom and prudence, choosing our words and actions with the goal of restoring and building, rather than destroying or hurting further. This proactive and mindful approach is essential for our pursuit of justice to truly align with divine love and compassion. Consequently, God's justice challenges us to cultivate spiritual resilience, allowing us to persevere even when circumstances seem unfavorable and immediate results aren't visible. This perseverance is not passivity, but an active strength that manifests an unwavering trust that God is working, even when we cannot fully understand His process. Think of a seed buried in the darkness of the soil, patiently waiting for the right moment to sprout and break through the surface. This active waiting, full of faith in the hidden potential, mirrors our own journey when we rely on divine justice. Thus we learn to wait with hope, to trust in God's timing, and to keep our faith firm, even in uncertainty. On the other hand, divine justice also calls us to bold action, especially when confronted with oppression and tyranny. It's not about passive resignation, but an active commitment to defend the truth and protect the vulnerable. Consider the prophets of the Old Testament, who confronted kings and powerful leaders in the name of divine justice, even at great personal risk. This courage doesn't arise from human strength, but from the conviction that God is on our side and that His will shall prevail. Therefore, when seeking justice, we are encouraged not to fear the consequences but to speak the truth with love and firmness, trusting that God will empower and protect us. Even more profoundly, divine justice manifests in the restoration of natural and spiritual order, often disrupted by the actions of evil and human disobedience. When we cry out for justice, we are, in fact, invoking God's power to restore the primordial balance, to heal the wounds caused by transgression, and to bring His sovereign will into existence, even amid apparent chaos. Think of how an ecosystem, when disturbed by an invasion of exotic species or natural disasters, gradually recovers under the influence of the natural laws governing it. Similarly, the Lord, in His justice, works to reintroduce harmony where there is discord, to heal the spiritual diseases that afflict humanity, and to restore the beauty and holiness that have been corrupted. This restoration is not merely an act of repair, but a revitalization that brings new life and purpose, like a river that, after a drought, begins to flow again, nourishing the land. On the flip side, it is crucial to recognize that divine justice does not operate through a human merit system, where our good deeds alone would earn us divine favor. Instead, it emanates from God's intrinsic nature, His love, His holiness, and His truth, and is accessible through faith and grace. When we interpret justice as something we must earn, we risk falling into the trap of legalism, focusing on our own efforts rather than trusting in the completed work of Christ. Imagine an athlete who, after months of rigorous training, participates in a competition. Their success is not solely due to their efforts, but also to the fair application of the competition rules and the recognition of their merit by the judges. Likewise, while our efforts are important, true divine justice is a gift we receive when we surrender to His sovereignty and trust in His goodness. Furthermore, divine justice invites us to an active responsibility in promoting equity in our own spheres of influence. This means that, in seeking God's justice, we are inspired to act with integrity in our professions, homes, and communities, defending the rights of the oppressed and speaking out against corruption and partiality. Think of a judge who, in their court, must issue impartial decisions based on law and evidence, without being influenced by external pressures or favoritism. Similarly, we are called to be judges in our own lives, applying divine principles of justice and fairness in all our interactions, ensuring that our actions reflect the character of God. Furthermore, divine justice teaches us the importance of cultivating deep gratitude for the countless times God has acted on our behalf, even when we didn't notice or explicitly ask for it. Many of the blessings we receive are, in themselves, manifestations of His providential justice, protecting us from hidden dangers and guiding us along safe paths. Imagine a person walking down a dangerous road, unaware of the holes and detours that have been skillfully marked and corrected by maintenance crews. Their safety is a testament to the justice and care working behind the scenes. Similarly, we must cultivate a sense of gratitude for divine interventions that happen quietly, recognizing that His justice is revealed not only in great acts of deliverance, but also in the small daily provisions that sustain us. Additionally, divine justice empowers us to develop a spiritual perspective that allows us to look beyond our immediate circumstances and trust in God as sovereignty. Even when we face seemingly insurmountable adversity, this unshakable faith, rooted in the understanding of God's just and loving nature, enables us to find peace in the midst of the storm, knowing that He has a plan and that His justice will ultimately prevail. Think of a sailor in the middle of a violent storm, trusting the compass and nautical charts to guide him, even without sight of a safe harbor. This trust in the equipment and expertise of the captain is similar to our trust in God's wisdom and power, which will guide us through trials until we reach eternal safety. Divine justice, beyond being a principle of retribution and restoration, serves as a catalyst for developing essential virtues in our spiritual journey, often through lessons that can only be learned in situations that seem disadvantageous. Consider how the need to defend ourselves from false accusations can refine our communication skills, requiring us to express the truth with clarity and conviction, but also with wisdom and gentleness, avoiding the traps of arrogance or self-pity. This practice teaches us the art of presenting strong arguments based on truth and reason, while remaining steadfast in our faith and moral integrity. It's an ongoing exercise in self-discipline, where we learn to control our emotional reactions and respond with a calmness that trusting in God provides. Moreover, the experience of being wronged can paradoxically deepen our empathy for others who suffer similar afflictions. Going through times of pain and misunderstanding makes our soul more sensitive to the suffering of others, opening our hearts to offer genuine comfort and support. Think of how a war veteran who understands the horrors of combat is often the most compassionate and understanding towards others who return from the battlefield. In the same way, the scars left by injustice can transform us into agents of healing, able to offer a balm of hope and encouragement to those still walking paths of suffering. This ability to connect with another's pain without falling into the trap of resentment is a powerful testimony of the transformative work of divine justice in our character. In the meantime, the very waiting for the manifestation of divine justice can be fertile ground for cultivating patience and perseverance. Instead of despairing over the apparent slowness of the process, we are challenged to develop resilience based on the certainty of God's sovereignty. This virtue is not passive resignation, but an active strength that compels us to continue trusting, praying, and acting in accordance with God's principles, even when results aren't immediate. It's like a farmer who, after sowing seeds, waits patiently for the harvest, tending to the soil and watering the plants, confident in the natural growth cycle. This active waiting, full of faith and diligence, is essential for us to reap the fruits of divine justice in our lives. Furthermore, divine justice confronts us with the need to critically examine our own motivations and actions, especially in situations where we may have inadvertently contributed to injustice. This honest self-analysis, although uncomfortable, is essential for our spiritual growth and for avoiding hypocrisy. Think of the importance of a doctor who, before treating a patient, makes an accurate diagnosis to identify the root cause of the illness. Similarly, we are called to perform a spiritual diagnosis of our own lives, seeking to understand if there's any trace of bias, prejudice, or selfishness in us that could obscure our perception of justice or lead us to act against it. This humility in recognizing our flaws is a crucial step toward truly aligning ourselves with God's will and becoming instruments of His justice. Divine justice, in its deeper dimension, is revealed not only as an external force intervening on our behalf, but as an internal process of refining our character, shaping us through the very experiences of adversity and misunderstanding. When confronted with situations where the truth seems obscured and our efforts are misinterpreted, we are compelled to seek even greater clarity in our own hearts and minds. Think of how an artist, working with raw and imperfect materials, must constantly adjust their tools and techniques to extract the inherent beauty from the raw material. Similarly, the Lord teaches us to be our own sculptors of character, learning to discern the nuances of truth and express it with integrity, even when it requires personal sacrifice or delicate confrontation. This journey of self-awareness and improvement is a testimony to divine justice in action, preparing us for a more meaningful role in His plan. Furthermore, divine justice challenges us to transcend the natural tendency to seek only our own vindication, expanding our focus to the restoration of order and harmony on a broader scale. Instead of focusing solely on how we have been personally harmed, we are called to consider the broader impact of injustice on the community and seek solutions that benefit everyone. Imagine an engineer who, while designing a bridge, doesn't think just about the safety of traffic in one direction, but considers the flow of traffic in both directions and the impact on surrounding infrastructure. Similarly, divine justice invites us to think in systemic terms, not only seeking our own repair, but the healing and restoration of the entire ecosystem in which we are involved, promoting an environment where truth and equity can flourish for all. In this regard, divine justice also manifests in the way we learn to deal with the inherent imperfection of the world and the people around us. Acknowledging that no one is perfect, we are called to cultivate mercy and forgiveness, without compromising our commitment to truth. Think of how a gardener, while tending to their plants, removes weeds without damaging the precious flowers. They understand that the presence of some impurities is inevitable, but their goal is to nourish what is good and valuable. In the same way, the Lord teaches us to navigate an imperfect world, distinguishing between the need for correction and the opportunity to show compassion, learning to apply justice with a heart that also loves and forgives, finding a balance that reflects the very divine nature. Consequently, divine justice encourages us to develop a deep gratitude for the countless times we have been spared from situations that could have resulted in significant harm, even when we didn't notice the imminent danger. Many of our current freedoms and securities are, in themselves, testimonies of God's providential intervention, which acted to prevent evil before it could fully manifest in our lives. Imagine a traveler who, while crossing a desert landscape, unexpectedly finds an oasis that saves him from thirst and exhaustion. He recognizes this refuge as a vital and unexpected gift. In the same way, we must cultivate a sense of gratitude for God's quiet interventions, acknowledging that His justice manifests not only in dramatic acts of deliverance, but also in the ongoing provisions that sustain and protect us, allowing us to continue our journey with renewed hope and strength. Divine justice, in its essence, also calls us to an exercise of discernment regarding the nature of true strength. which does not reside in aggression or imposition, but in resilience and the ability to withstand adversity with dignity and integrity. When confronted with injustice, the temptation to retaliate with equal or greater intensity is powerful but divine. Wisdom teaches us to seek a deeper strength, one that comes from unwavering trust in God and the conviction that He will defend our cause. Think of the tenacity of a reed that bends before the strong wind but does not break, returning to its upright position as the storm passes. This flexibility, combined with a firm root in truth, is a model of spiritual strength. Instead of retaliating, we are called to stand firm in our principles, trusting that the Lord will bring deliverance at the appointed time, demonstrating that true victory is not the annihilation of the adversary, but the preservation of our own integrity and the manifestation of truth. Furthermore, divine justice teaches us the crucial importance of cultivating a long-term perspective, recognizing that present difficulties are often stepping stones for future growth. The temptation to fixate on immediate suffering can blind us to the valuable lessons adversity brings. However, when we look at the trajectory of biblical figures like Joseph, who faced slavery and imprisonment before rising to a position of great authority, we realize that these periods of trial served as essential training for God's greater purpose. Therefore, when the shadows of injustice loom over us, it is imperative that we lift our gaze, striving to understand the divine plan and trusting that every experience, no matter how painful, contributes to our formation and the eventual manifestation of God's justice in our lives. In the meantime, divine justice also challenges us to examine our own capacity for forgiveness, not as an act of weakness but as a demonstration of spiritual strength and alignment with God's character. Forgiveness, when genuine, frees the offended from the burden of resentment and paves the way for healing and reconciliation. Imagine the release of a prisoner who, upon receiving the keys to his cell, decides not to hold a grudge against his captors, but to move forward with a renewed spirit. This inner liberation is a powerful reflection of divine justice at work in our hearts, enabling us to break the chains of the past and embrace a future of peace and hope, trusting that God will handle all necessary retribution. As a result, divine justice urges us to take proactive action in defending the oppressed and the silenced. It is not enough to simply cry out for our own vindication. We are called to reach out to the vulnerable, to give a voice to the voiceless, and to confront injustice wherever it arises. Consider the courage of a lawyer who dedicates their career to defending the rights of the marginalized, using their knowledge and skills to fight for a more equitable world. In the same way, we are called to be instruments of divine justice, using our words, actions, and resources to promote truth and righteousness in all areas of life, trusting that God will empower and guide us in this important mission. Divine justice, in its more subtle manifestation, often confronts us with the need to examine the origin and nature of our own resilience in the face of adversity. It's not just about enduring suffering, but understanding how trials, especially those stemming from unjust acts, can forge an inner strength that would otherwise remain dormant. Think of how a diamond, in order to reach its maximum brilliance, must endure immense pressure and heat during its formation. Similarly, the moments when we are subjected to disproportionate pressures, unfounded slanders, or unjust persecution can be the crucible where our faith is purified, our perseverance is tested, and our ability to maintain integrity is strengthened. Instead of breaking under the weight, we are invited to discern the lessons these experiences offer, learning to trust in divine providence that, even in the darkest moments, works for our improvement and the manifestation of His justice. Moreover, divine justice challenges us to question the very foundations of our understanding of retribution, encouraging us to go beyond a merely punitive view. While repairing the damage is an essential component, true divine justice transcends merely negative consequences for the offender, focusing on the full restoration of the offended and the promotion of an environment where truth can flourish. Consider the dynamics of a court where, in judging a case, they not only seek to sentence the guilty, but also ensure the victim receives compensation and society is protected from future transgressions. Similarly, the Lord, in His infinite wisdom, doesn't only expose injustice, but also works to heal wounds, restore dignity, and reaffirm the principles of love and truth that govern His kingdom. This perspective calls us to seek not only the condemnation of wrong, but the building up and restoration of those who have been harmed. In the meantime, divine justice also propels us to critically examine our own expectations about divine intervention, recognizing that God's timing and methods don't always match our immediate desires. Impatience with the apparent delay may cloud our ability to discern God's ongoing actions, which are part of a much larger and more complex plan than we can fully grasp. Think of the patient wait of a farmer for seeds to germinate. He doesn't unearth the soil daily to check the progress, but trusts the natural cycle in his own care for the crops. Similarly, we are called to cultivate this same patience and trust, knowing that God is actively working behind the scenes, preparing the perfect moment for the manifestation of His justice, even if the outward signs are not yet visible to us. Consequently, divine justice encourages us to develop a deep sense of gratitude for the protection we often don't even notice, yet it saves us from dangers that could have been devastating. Many of the freedoms and securities we enjoy are, in themselves, a testimony to God's providential intervention, protecting us from evil before it can fully manifest in our lives. Imagine a traveler who, while crossing a dangerous road, is subtly guided by a signpost or timely advice that steers them away from a cliff. This intervention, though discreet, is a divine act of justice that ensures their safety. Similarly, we are invited to cultivate a constant spirit of gratitude, recognizing that divine justice manifests not only in great acts of deliverance, but also in the countless daily provisions that sustain and protect us, allowing us to continue our journey with renewed hope and vigor. Reflecting on this journey so far, we see how the threads of our search for divine justice intertwine, forming a complex and inspiring tapestry. As we advance in our understanding, we are led to consider not only external vindication, but also the profound process of inner refinement that these experiences promote. The strength we find in faith is not mere passive hope, but active resilience, forged in adversity and tempered by trust in divine sovereignty. What once seemed like uncertain waiting now reveals itself as a period of preparation, where patience and perseverance become essential virtues, shaping our character and deepening our dependence on the Creator. The clarity we seek in truth is not only the exposure of facts, but the ability to discern the deepest intentions, enabling us to navigate the complexities of human relationships with wisdom and spiritual discernment. In light of these reflections, the path that leads us to conclusion becomes more evident, like a river that, after winding through valleys and mountains, finally finds its serene course toward the vast ocean. The various facets of divine justice explored in our meditations converge into a central point: the unshakable sovereignty of God and the redemptive purpose He weaves into every circumstance, even the most challenging. Understanding that true strength lies in integrity and trust, not retaliation, frees us from the bonds of resentment and propels us to embrace a path of restoration and reconciliation. The wisdom we seek to discern truth equips us to go beyond appearances, to penetrate hidden motivations, and to act with clarity that reflects God's very nature. As we approach the final reflection, we realize that the lessons learned about patience, forgiveness, and resilience are not mere abstract concepts, but practical tools that enable us to live a life of purpose and meaning. The journey teaches us that divine justice is not limited to correcting past wrongs, but preparing the ground for a future where truth and righteousness prevail. Just as a skilled artisan shapes clay with precision, the Lord works in our lives, refining our intentions and strengthening our faith so we can become instruments of His will. The convergence of these ideas prepares us to embrace the conclusion of this prayer with a renewed perspective and a heart confident in God's ongoing work in and through us. And so, my God, we reach the pinnacle of this communion, where the pursuit of your divine justice reveals itself not only as a cry for correction, but as an invitation to inner transformation. The journey we've walked together, from the initial yearning to the deep reflection on the various manifestations of your action, has led us to a richer and more multifaceted understanding of your sovereignty and your unconditional love. We realize that your justice is not an unyielding judgment, but an ongoing process of improvement, shaping and refining us through experiences, even those that, at first, seem overwhelming. The strength we find in you is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to persevere and maintain integrity amid the storms, trusting that your powerful hand sustains us and guides us beyond the visible. The truth we seek, Lord, is not merely the exposure of facts or the dismantling of lies, but the ability to discern with clarity the deeper intentions, to look beyond appearances and to embrace reality with a humble and open heart. Your justice teaches us to go beyond mere punishment, encouraging us to seek reconciliation, forgiveness, and complete restoration, both within ourselves and in the world around us. The patience we cultivate in our wait for your intervention is not passive resignation, but an active trust in your sovereignty and perfect timing, knowing that each moment of waiting is, in fact, a period of preparation and strengthening for the fulfillment of your purpose. In this convergence of understandings, we see that the true practice of divine justice begins now, in every choice we make, in every word we speak, and in every action we take. It is not an isolated event, but a way of life, a daily commitment to live in accordance with the principles you have revealed to us. The resilience we develop does not make us insensitive to pain, but empowers us to transform it into a testimony of your power, using our scars as marks of victory and extending our hands to those still struggling in their own battles. May your light continue to guide us, dispelling the shadows of doubt and injustice, and may the echo of your truth resonate in our hearts, driving us to be agents of transformation and bearers of hope in a world longing for justice and peace. In you we find the assurance that the final word belongs to love and truth, and that your justice will ultimately prevail, restoring all things to your glory.